His appearance was highly anticipated and calls for apprehension among his former colleagues.
Thank you for the opportunity to attend today's inquiry.
Not long into John Barilaro's evidence, he relayed a conversation he had with the Premier.
I just mentioned that, I was thinking about the trade roll to the Americas.
And what did he say?
I think it was just like, great, and that was it.
The former Deputy Premier told the inquiry that occurred in November last year when he'd left Cabinet but was still a sitting MP.
There was many phone calls after I left with Mr Perrottet. He was always checking in on me. He was checking in on me, and on one of those occasions I flagged, as I said, that I'd be interested. He had nothing more to say than go for it.
Mr Barilaro insists he then informed Mr Perrottet he'd applied in an unplanned meeting.
I ran into Premier Perrottet in Martin Place late January, early February.
The Premier's been under pressure over his political judgment around this appointment. Allegations have also emerged that he considered creating a parliamentary trade secretary role for David Elliott and discussed an overseas posting when deciding his cabinet.
The allegations in relation to the creation of a role that I would give to somebody outside politics is completely false and offensive.
But Mr Perrottet didn't deny conversations had taken place with the now Transport Minister.
I'm not going into private conversations. They're natural conversations that a Premier or a Prime Minister has with their team.
This threatens to further damage the Premier, who is battling declining public confidence in the integrity of trade appointments. And now the man most likely to be his deputy, Matt Keane, has been pulled into the John Barilaro controversy. It's been revealed the former Deputy Premier sent him a text message about the job.
Mr Barilaro texted me. He indicated that he wanted to apply for this job. I encouraged him to do so, as he obviously did. I didn't really give it a second thought.
The Treasurer is the only declared candidate to replace Stuart Ayres as deputy, who resigned over the trade controversy. David Elliott has withdrawn, he says, after a conversation with the Premier. Ashley Raper, ABC News, Sydney.
Regret, surprise and despair. John Barilaro wanted to set the record straight. Over hours of evidence, he said he's not corrupt, it wasn't jobs for the boys, and he wished he'd never applied for the New York trade role. Phoebe Bowden reports.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have walked into what was a shit show.
Since John Barilaro took a lucrative US trade role in June, there has been a storm of controversy following him and the government. Mr Barilaro says no one warned him about the potential for problems.
At no point did anyone say it would create controversy.
In fact, Mr Barilaro says he was encouraged by the Premier and Treasurer and praised by colleagues when he won the job. But he emphasised he had no advantage over other candidates.
This was not a jobs for the boys. This was not a captain's pig.
Today's parliamentary inquiry was heated at times.
You're making me out to be corrupt.
The parliamentary committee focused on the timeline of John Barilaro's resignation. Documents show he was thinking of quitting on the 24th of September last year. 3 days later, John Barilaro's proposal to change the trade jobs to ministerial appointments is considered by Cabinet. Later that week, Gladys Berejiklian resigns as Premier, then John Barilaro resigns on the 4th of October. Mr Barilaro says it was luck that his submission got on the Cabinet agenda that week.
It was fortuitous that it got on.
So you are the luckiest person.
Oh, mate, if you've lived the hell that I've lived over the last 6-7 weeks, now I'm the unluckiest.
Mr Barilaro said he believed the recruitment process was fair, and based on that assumption, he thought he and the government would be able to weather any political storm that arose from him being appointed to the role.
Now it looks muddy and messy, yeah. I'm the victim out of that. I'm not the perpetrator.
John Barilaro will appear again at the parliamentary inquiry on Friday. Phoebe Bowden, ABC News, Sydney.
And Ashley Raper joins me now from Macquarie Street. Ashley, the government knew that this week was going to be a challenging one.
Yes, Juanita, and parts of John Barilaro's evidence would have been uncomfortable for the government. The fact that this inquiry continues and that John Barilaro appeared prolongs this controversy for the government and maintains the pressure on the Premier. Dominic Perrottet is facing a number of problems this week. but he appears to have dealt with one. There will now no longer be a contest for the Deputy Liberal leadership. Matt Kean is set to take the job, which resolves what was becoming a messy internal dispute. But the Premier can't deny that his government has been in turmoil. He's been bruised by what has transpired. And now Parliament resumes tomorrow, Juanita, after the winter break.